All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And in this one, we're going to be grading XDefiant Arena maps. So we're not going to be doing some of the other ones. There's like 3 of them that we're not going to do, and basically that are used for escort or whatnot, or for some of the competitive modes. So we're just going to be focusing on the 11 out of the 14 arena maps, or should I say 12 at this point? Well, more like 11 out of the 14 or 15 maps that are on display in the game. So we're just going to stick to that, and we're going to do it a little bit untraditionally. And what I mean by that is we're not going to be putting the thumbnails of the maps in A tier and this one on B tier and this one on C tier. I'm going to do this commentary style because I feel that it would be a little too boring for the eyes to do it otherwise. And at the same time, there's just so much footage that I've gotten that I just want to use up. And quick shout out to everybody that came by the stream earlier, and we broke, as far as YouTube is concerned, we broke the record in terms of how many concurrent viewers we had at one point. And it was really nice talking to you guys and getting to know you guys and talking about the game, etc., etc. So it was a blast. I may do it yet again soon, and at the same time, I hope the stream itself did a good job of proving to you guys that, you know, skill-based matchmaking is actually not in the game. So just kind of also wanted to, at the same time, put some doubters to rest. But without further ado, let's talk about the maps. Let's talk about what this video is about in the first place. So the first one is Arena. Now, I just want to say in terms of the rating, it's gonna be S tier, A, B, C, and D. All right. So for Arena, I'm gonna start with a hot take on this one. Arena, I think, is more fun than Nuketown. Okay, Nuketown is legendary in its own right, but Arena to me it's the Nuketown of XDefiant, but it's just more fun, in my humble opinion. I give Arena an S easily, because you can use all the different weapons in the game on Arena. All the game modes play really well on Arena. It's faster paced, but it's not like so small that it's like Shipment or anything like that. It's just a really, really good map, regardless of whatever game mode you like to play on it. And it flows very well. All the weapons, as I said, can be used. So Arena is just a badass map. And I really like the color, and I like the fact that it kind of reminds me of a night map, because even though it's an indoor thing, it kind of reminds me of a night map. So I get a lot of good vibes from Arena, and hopefully we'll get some other maps that are similar to Arena, so that way we can make some comparisons in the future. So all right, next up we have Ateka Heights. Now, I gotta admit, when I first started playing this map, I had a really big love-hate relationship about it. Obviously this is not an SMG map. Perhaps if you play Occupy on it, or maybe Domination or something like that, it's a little bit different, because you're not just spending, you know, your time on top of the map, you're on the bottom as well. And when you go on the bottom, it's a little bit more SMG friendly, but for the most part, this is an assault rifle, sniper rifle, LMG type of map. Now, I'm not saying you can't use SMGs, but this map just favors assault rifle gameplay, etc., etc. So it's a really handy map to kind of pick people off. So if there are specific weapons that you like to use to pick people off, this is definitely the kind of map to where you can do so. And they made it to where you can actually remain mobile. It's not like you can stay in one spot forever and be forever safe. They've designed the map to where, you know, you can flank effectively, you can gain better position effectively, because there's more than one line of sight in terms of to where you can take a person out. So even though you might find yourself in an advantageous position on this map, you have to eventually move from where you're at, because sooner or later someone's going to flank you, or someone's going to get into a more advantageous line of sight and take you out. So I really like how they did that. And again, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't as fond of this map. I again, like I said, had a love-hate relationship with it, but once I started getting used to the map and figuring out how to play it and use it more properly, it became a lot more fun. I would say Ateka Heights I would say, for me personally, this is a solid A. And again, this is the kind of map to where you can pick people off, and at the same time, you need to move. So really, really good definition of how a map needs to be designed, but at the same time, it really focuses towards assault rifle gameplay and longer lines of sight. So I love using this with the M16, and it's definitely very handy. But yeah, you're really going to have to flank from the bottom or even maybe the sides or whatnot if you want to get up close and personal with an SMG. It can be done, but you're going to find yourself flanking a lot in order to do that. So a little bit less viable for SMGs, but it is what it is. All right, so next up, we are going to go to Clubhouse. Now, Clubhouse, it's the new map that has come out within season 1. In a couple of weeks, we're going to get another map, obviously, since every single month we're going to be getting a new map, which is exciting. But Clubhouse, what do I think of Clubhouse? Now, at first, I absolutely hated this map, and right now, I just hate it slightly less because, obviously, they gave you a choice in this map to where if you want something up close and personal, you go inside of the building. If you want something a little bit more distant, you basically have to stay on the outside of the map to where like the yard is and stuff like that. So that's good in that aspect, but there's still too much stuff in the way, though, in my opinion. A little bit too much stuff in the way of my liking, and it's a little bit just too, how do I put this? A little bit too much clutter, too much stuff. Just it's not as, I don't even know how else to explain it, really. It just doesn't flow. In my opinion, it just doesn't have the flow that a lot of these other maps have. Even the ones that are a little bit more CQC, like Echelon or whatnot. But this one just doesn't flow as well. So for me, I'm going to give Clubhouse, I'm going to give it a C, like a low tier C. And again, I'm being kind of generous with that because, again, it is the newer map. You know, we have to get used to it a little more. So I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt for the most part. But at the same time, it's not going to stop me from giving it a low grade C because, again, there's just too much stuff in the way. But I do like the fact that there is there is variety. You can use SMGs, you can use assault rifles, you can use all the different tiers of weapons. But at the same time, like, it's really good that you can use like that. It's very much recommended that you use something like an SMG or a shotgun or something like that because, again, you got to spread the love around. You don't just want to be a game that caters to only one weapon category. So in that aspect, it does it well. So it's one of the reasons why I didn't give this map a D rating. So it deserves a C because it does have some appeal to it, obviously, in that aspect, and then the variety, and maybe even with some certain objective-based game modes. But again, in my opinion, just too much stuff in the way. So I would say a low grade C, in my opinion, or a C minus. All right, next up, Dumbo. Okay, we've known this map for a long time, ever since the days of the beta or whatnot. So yeah, Dumbo, in my opinion, is a solid A. I like the fact that it's a solid, it's a snow map, I believe. So we like snow maps. The more, the better. I hope we get more snow maps in the game. I hope we get more night maps as well. It's got good flow to it. It's got good flanking. And obviously, you can use all sorts of different weapons on it, obviously. In domination and as well as objective-based game modes, this really shines. But in game modes like Hot Shot or Team Deathmatch, not so much. But with that being said, it's still a very solid map. You know, you've got good lines of sights on both sides of the map or whatnot. Every single aspect of the map is fun to play on. You know, the Codfather Blame Truth is really fond of the B flag area in the center of the map. For me, it's like, I understand the appeal, especially since he loves using that what is it, that shotgun of his. But with that being said, it's a little too CQC for my taste in that area, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong or that it's bad. But I would say in terms of flow and everything else that I mentioned, this is a solid A. Not too far from an S, but just a couple little things that would have been changed would have been nice. But for the most part, it is a solid A. And if you specifically play Occupy, this map shines even more because there's so many more different areas that get used in the map. And for the most part, the majority of the things that are in this map are designed very, very well. And for the most part, there's not like too much crap in the way, so to speak. So very, very solid map. Dumbo is an A. All right, next up, Echelon. So Echelon was a map. I really love the way the map looks, first of all, okay? And obviously, this is a CQC map. There are a few map parts of this map to where you can use a sniper or whatnot, to where there's a few of the corridors or hallways or whatnot towards the side of the map. And then there's a little bit of another one towards the center of the map to where you've got some long lines of sight. But for the most part, this is a shotgun or an SMG map. And, well, it's got better flow than Clubhouse. But in my opinion, there's still, you know, it's not as there's not too much clutter in the way. There's not too much crap in the way like there is in Clubhouse. So it flows better. So looking at it from that aspect, I would give this a C. I would give it like a higher tier C. It's not a B, in my opinion. Actually, think about it, Jack, for a second. Is it a B? I would say high C, low B at the very most. And again, I've been playing the map ever since launch, and it's fine. And at the same time, even though it is recommended that you use close quarters combat weapons for this, you can still use assault rifles. You can still use sniper rifles and stuff like that, especially with the way this game is designed. But again, in my opinion, just a little bit too much stuff in the way for my liking. It's a little, you know, but yet at the same time, it still flows. It still flows better than Clubhouse does. So that's what I got to say about that. So I would rate it like a high C, low B tier at the very most. So, all right. Moving on to Emporium. I really don't need to say much more other than the fact that this is a D for me personally. There's, how do I put this? There's so many spaces on this map that really don't get used, regardless of which mode you play on for the most part. Like, obviously the B flag in Domination is like the highlight when you play Domination, from what I remember when I did play Domination. And if you're playing Team Deathmatch, or if you're playing, what's it called? Hot Shot, for instance, or Team Deathmatch. Now, Occupy obviously would probably play best on this map, but when you're talking about Team Deathmatch, Hot Shot, Domination, or whatnot, there's just so much of this map that just doesn't get used very much, and it's partially because of how spawns work, and obviously if you're playing Domination, you influence spawns a little bit more. But in terms of flow and everything else, it's just like this map kind of has like, it kind of seems like it has like this potential that just doesn't seem to get there and just doesn't seem to get used. I think if they made a couple little different design choices with this map, it would have been a whole lot better. But for me, overall, there's just so much of this map that just doesn't really get used very much, and it just doesn't have that kind of flow that a lot of the other maps have. So that's what's kind of missing. And this is my opinion. You know, this is my grading isn't the end all be all, but I would say Emporium is a D. It's like a pass, but it's not like what's it called? But it's not like on the same level in terms of flow and how much of the map you use, et cetera, like some of the other ones. So yeah, hate to give it a D, but it's true. All right, moving on next to Liberty. So Liberty in this one for me is a solid S. This is an S tier map in my opinion. Liberty, I would say Liberty is like the raid or the standoff of XDefiant. You know, some people would say that kind of that there are other maps that would take there's a couple of other maps that would take that kind of accolade, but for me personally, Liberty is that map. It flows very well. Again, you can use multitude of different weapons. It's not too clunky at all. It's very open, but at the same time, there is enough cover, but not enough to where it's like to where people won't know you're there or whatnot. This map is designed very, very well. There's only a couple of other maps that are on the same tier of quality as Liberty is. Obviously, you can also see people very well. It's just really, really good. And if you're at advantage point, again, it's risky. You can be in a power position, but at the same time, you can't stay there forever. You know, there's a risk factor because there are other lines of sight to where people can take, whether they're above you or below you. Well, granted, whether they're above you or below you, they could take advantage and just kind of take you out that way. So this map is balanced so very well, and it's got such a good flow to it. And every single game mode in for this map is just excellent, and I love it. So yeah, solid S tier for Liberty. All right, moving on to the next one, Mayday. Mayday to me is better designed than Emporium, but it still somehow has the same issues that Emporium has. And please remember, I usually play Hot Shot / Team Deathmatch, but I have played the other modes as well. But one thing I will say is that like there's just so much of this map that in terms of when you're looking at a team deathmatch or a hot shot or whatnot that just doesn't get used very much. There's like half of this map that just does not get used, or should I say, I would say maybe a third of this map that is designed pretty well that just doesn't get used very well. So it is what it is. I mean, obviously this game was designed for objective-based game modes in mind, so I can't be judging it too harshly because of the fact that there's certain areas of the map that don't get used, because when you play on Occupy, or you know, when you play the objective-based game mode Occupy, or whenever you play Domination, obviously because it's objective-based, a little bit more traditionally objective-based than a hot shot would be, obviously, you're going to use different areas of the map that much more. So that's very understandable. But with that being said, it's got better flow to it than Emporium does. So I would say Mayday for me is a C. It's a C, but it doesn't reach that potential that some of the other maps do. But at the same time, is it something that's like you know, as bad as some of the other maps that we've seen from other game franchises? Hell no. This is you know, compared to some of the maps that we've seen in other game franchises, this blows a lot of those games out of the water in terms of design. So, but in terms of XDefiant design, it just doesn't quite, in my opinion, humbly speaking, it doesn't get to the point to where it reaches its full potential like some of the other maps do. All right, next up, we have Noodle Plex. For those of you guys that have been around here long enough, you guys already know Noodle Plex I have loved ever since the first time I played on this map. Noodle Plex is another one of those maps that is of legendary status to me personally, like a raid or a standoff or whatnot, or a summit. Now, granted, it's larger than Summit, but it's very solid. I absolutely adore this map. There's just so many fun areas to have engagements in with this map, and again, very good for multiple different weapons, multiple different game modes. Like, all the game modes play very well in this game, the weapons and all that. So it's just so much fun. Whether you want to flank on the outside of the maps on both sides and be indoors, or whether you want to be towards the more center and you're outdoors, there's a lot of really cool engagements that take place on this map. And it does kind of remind me of Raid to a certain extent, because, you know, where the Noodle Plex sign is, you know, it's kind of got that little roundabout thing. That kind of reminds me of it, but granted, it's not quite the same. But there's a lot of things that happen that kind of remind you of Raid. There's a lot of CQC. There's a lot of, you know, taking out people from a distance, and there's a whole bunch of really cool engagements that happen both indoors and outdoors. It flows so well. So Noodle Plex to me, S tier map, hands down. All right, moving on next to Pablito. Pablito, ladies and gentlemen, again, not being biased, this is an S tier map. Every single game mode that you play on this game flows very well. You know, like, obviously, one of the things that Pablito really shines in is that it's also one of those maps to where it's granted, this game's color palette is very, very good. You can see your targets very, very clearly, but there's just something about a map to where you've got this, you know, outside jungle-ish type of feel to it, to where your targets are seen very easily, and the fact that people can't really hide anywhere without any risk factor is something that's always appealing to me. So Pablito plays very, very well. Like, it's like, some people will say, now again, I'm not trying to sound biased here, some people will say that if a map has a really good flow to it when there are no objectives, then with the objectives, you know, it's even better or whatnot. You know, some people say that. Now, I don't know if I fully agree on that, because again, XDefiant is based off of objective-based game modes. But at the same time, if that is true for that map, it just goes to show you how great that map is. Like, if the map flows very well, regardless of whatever game mode you play, whether it's objective-based or not, that's basically the making of a good map. So Pablito is an S tier map for me. Now, next up, and the last one of this video, is Showtime. Now, Showtime, in terms of visual eye candy, is amazing. I love the LED lights or whatnot that you have in some parts of the map. It's like, it has this mixed vibe to it, to where it's like you've got your LED lights and stuff like that. There's even one part that reminds me of the inside of the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars and stuff, and then you've got your dinosaur thing on the side of the map in this one part right here, and then you've got lines of sight on both sides on the left and right, and then you've got, like, and it's got a little bit of, it's also got a lot of really good CQC action, but yet at the same time you've got these lines of sight that are really good. It is very well designed. I kept on going back and forth between A and S on this map, But for this map, but I honestly have to say, and again, I'm not being biased. To me, this is an S tier map. It is an S tier map. Like once I started realizing that how well this plays for multiple game modes, as well as realizing, especially with my recent love of the M16, of just how awesome this map could be, regardless of what weapon you can use, and the kinds of the ways you can pick people off in this game, regardless of what weapon you use, whether it's an SMG, an AR, whatever it is. Like this map literally has everything, and it has it in a way to where you've got some what's it called? You can be what's it called? Verticality. There's a little bit of verticality, but there's not so much to where it just ruins the entire experience. As a matter of fact, if you put yourself in a verticality position, there's an element of risk involved, which a lot of games don't do properly, but XDefiant does. You can still be on a lower level of the map, like you can be on ground level, and somebody could be like on the on a vertical spot, on somewhere where they're on the second floor, on the other side of the map or whatnot. And if you find yourself in that right position, you can take them out. It's simple as that, regardless of whether or not they have a weapon that's better suited for that. You can still take them out. Now, you can't really use an SMG to pick people off if they're above you, but they're below you, but you have to be closer. But yeah, this map has everything. And honestly, I probably say that this map, I really just love the look of this map overall. It's different. It's fairly different than some of the other maps, and it really embraces that whole LED light sort of thing. But at the same time, it's still XDefiant, and it kind of reminds you of it at the same time. Yeah, this map is an S tier map for me. I would say Showtime is an S tier map, and I like the name of it too. It's like, yeah, it's Showtime. So I hope we see more maps like this, to where we see more LED lights and more different, a mix of different types of themes, because you almost have like that sort of cowboy theme with this Western theme with this map, but at the same time, it's like you've got these LED lights. So I really like it when they mix themes like that. And it kind of almost reminds me of, I don't know, like Back to the Future 2 and 3 combined in one map, if that makes sense. So anyway, with that being said, guys, that is my grading for this, for all these maps. I'm really looking forward in a couple weeks or so to when we get the new map. I really want to see how that plays out. So I'm really curious, because if XDefiant continues on this trend to where the vast majority of the maps are that good, and they really just don't cater to just one play style, I think we're in for a treat. And as you guys know, maps are a very big part of the foundation in any first-person shooter, and so far XDefiant is doing a hell of a job with that. But with that being said, none of them, there's a few maps that are obviously not perfect, but within XDefiant itself, those are my gradings. And I want to know in the comment section below, which maps in particular are your favorites, and how would you grade them? We had a little discussion on that on stream earlier, and it was a lot of fun. And I really like the fact that there are a lot of people that consider certain maps like really good. I mean, I know some of you guys are not going to like the fact that I gave certain maps a lower grade or whatnot, but that's cool though. That's part of the joys of this game. Some of us like things certainly more than others, but with that being said, like I said, in terms of the quality of maps that we're getting with this game, it's definitely one of the highlights, and it's definitely one of the things that keeps me playing. And I can't stress that enough. Maps are that important when it comes to XDefiant. It's one of the things that's keeping the game fresh and keeping the game feeling good. And the fact that we're getting one map per month just gives us something to look forward to every 4 weeks. But anyway, that concludes this video, guys. Again, thank you all so very much for the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.